days. So I've seen some staff development. He's been all over the place. So we want to welcome him. We're going to go ahead and start with our recognition of our student representative leading the Pledge of Allegiance by Dr. Ely.
Thank you, President Dreisbeck. And yes, we will begin this meeting as we do all of our regular scheduled meetings with our pledges of allegiance to the American flag and the Texas flag. And leading us today is a young man from Cibolo Valley Elementary. And if Ms. Young-Michael would introduce her students, and we look forward to a great pledge. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board, President Dreisbeck, and Superintendent Dr. Ely. I am Rhonda Young-Michael, proud principal at Cibolo Valley Elementary. I would like to introduce to you our student, Christian Gardner, who is in the 4th grade. Christian is a Tiger leader who consistently models our Cibolo Valley principles: respectful, responsible, safe, and smart. He enjoys being in our dual language program because, quote, he likes to learn 2 languages, which will give him more skills for life. He exemplifies the traits of a graduate by being future ready. He hopes to get a good education and serve in the United States Air Force Civil Service, quote, just like his dad. His favorite subjects are science and art. Christian loves playing basketball and dreams of being on the track team in high school. He is joined tonight by his parents, Michelle and Ryan Gardner, and his little brother, Austin. Parents, please stand and be recognized. He will be leading us in our pledges this evening.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Yes, thank you so much, Christian. You did a great job. All right, next we are going to have our Vice President's recitation of the district mission, vision, values, and priorities.
Our motto, SCUC, a district with passion and purpose. Our mission, SCUCISD, a diverse community founded in trust and transparency, commits to empower all students to fulfill lifelong potential through inspiring learning experiences. Our vision, inspire, innovate, excel. Values, leadership, character, commitment, service, learning. Our priorities. Priority 1, all graduates will be college and/or career and/or military ready. Priority 2, high-performing and engaged workforce. Priority 3, highly satisfied students, parents, and community. Priority 4, efficient district and campus operations.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins. Next, we're going to have our board recitation of the district belief statements.
We believe all students have the capacity to learn and excel. We believe a safe, secure, and supportive environment is paramount to learning. We believe in living our core values of leadership, character, commitment, service, and learning.
We believe engaging, interactive, and authentic teaching creates empowered, inspired learners prepared for our changing world. We believe technology is a relevant tool that enhances learning in and beyond the classroom. We believe in a professional learning environment, professional learning community that fosters collaboration for continuous improvement.
We believe transparent, clear, and timely communication among all is critical to success. We believe measures of success go beyond standardized testing, and we believe that public education is defined by the local community with limited state involvement.
Thank you. Next, we'll have the Vice President's overview of good governance indicators and board member ethics.
Number 2 of our good governance self-check is the board has a written plan in place to regular review and adoption/reaffirmation of the district's mission, vision, values, and goals. the criteria for consideration. The board is regularly briefed about the status and the administrator's plans for accomplishing the current goals. The board documents from the goal setting process indicates the board considered a broad range of issues and desired outcomes before limiting goals to those included in its list. All current members of the board and superintendent have agreed in formal adoption or readoption by the board to be guided by the board adopted mission, vision, values, and measurable goals.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins. Next, we have recognition. Our first one is our recognition of student representatives for the month of February, presented by Dr. Ely.
Thank you, Madam President. In my first board meeting here, I'm very thankful to be able to take part in this tradition of having a high school student up and joining us here at the panel. We are joined today by two tremendous representatives of SCUCISD, Kaylin Bannister and Amari Bryant. Not only do they represent the school district very well and their families very well, but they're tremendous members of FCCLA, Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America, serving in leadership positions around the state here. So thank you very much, ladies, for being here. We look forward to hearing from you.
At Clemens High School, and I have the esteemed pleasure of introducing our student board representative, Kaylin Bannister. She's been in the district since she was in the 5th grade, and she said her high school career, when we sat and chit-chat, that she really wasn't involved in anything until she and her friend just on a whim stumbled on FCCLA, and she's done really well in the competitions. Her very first year, she did go to state, qualified for state. So she does a lot of volunteer work. She is a dynamic leader. Last year, she was just a member of FCCLA, and now she is the president of FCCLA. She feels like that organization has really helped her be an effective communicator as well. She does do a lot of volunteering at her church, where she works with kids, as well as she volunteers with the 7th graders there at Cross Point Fellowship. She also has a job on the grind, and she is definitely on the grind to graduate here this year at Clemens High School. Her parent is here, Mr. and Mrs. Bannister, if you would please stand, as well as her sponsor, Ms. Skull. And after graduating, she does want to attend Texas State University, but I won't steal her thunder. Kaylin Bannister.
Good evening, Dr. Ely, President Dreisbach, and members of the board. I'm Kaylin Bannister, the 2019-2020 FCCLA President for Samuel Clemens. My friend Miliani and I did kind of join FCCLA on a whim because one of my other friends said it was so great the previous year, and we knew we needed to get involved in an extracurricular. So we stumbled upon FCCLA. We joined junior year, and we were just members. We decided to do the Hospitality, Recreation, and Tourism division. We ended up making it to nationals last year. And so we got lucky and got to do it again this year. So we make a resort or a lodge, and then we get to present it to judges. And so we hope we're going to nationals this year. We are state qualifiers, so we'll have to let you know how that goes. FCCLA has taught me to be a leader, and FCS courses go hand in hand with FCCLA. Our events revolve around the courses that are taught at schools. So I've learned how to cook better, how to be a mentor, how to take care of children, all because of FCCLA and the FCS courses that I've taken with Miss Skoll and Miss Frisbee. I've always loved them. I've had them for most of my years in high school, but with them being my advisors, I've had a newfound appreciation for them and all the hard work they put in with their classes and FCCLA. and I do plan on attending Texas State in the fall to major in nursing. I hope to be a neonatal intensive care unit nurse specifically. And my FCS courses and FCCLA have taught me and helped prepare me for my future career and future endeavors that I plan to do. So thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Ely, President Dreisbeck, and members of the board. At this time, I would like to introduce an amazing young woman, Miss Amari Bryant. Amari is currently a senior at Steele High School. She was born in Hawaii and has traveled all across the United States, finally ending up in Texas. She has been a student here at SCUC since her 5th grade year, where she attended Schlatter Intermediate. Amari has been an active member of Steele FCCLA, which is Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America, for the past 3 years. She has also served as a local and regional officer for FCCLA. Some of her roles in FCCLA include helping to plan fall leadership, to plan the regional meeting, and also she participates in the community service events. She is also a member of Steele's Student Council, Knights of the Round Table, and serves as a senior class officer. This year, Amari is also participating for her 2nd year in the Practicum of Education course, which is also known as Ready, Set, Teach. She is currently assisting in a 4th grade class at Cibolo Valley Elementary. In her class, she helps with the instructions, the evaluation, and overall enhances the students' learning environment. She's made it her personal goal to make a difference in each of the lives of the students in her class. She is greatly appreciative of all of the different opportunities that all of the clubs and activities have provided her while at SCUC. After high school, Amari plans to attend either Texas State University or Prairie View A&M and major in education. From there, she would like to become an elementary school teacher and hopefully return to SCUC and teach here. Tonight, Amari is represented by both of her parents, Thomas and Sherry Bryant. Dad is currently out of the country in Saudi Arabia, but he is being phoned in by Mom to show support for his daughter. So, Mom, please wave. We also have her FCCLA advisor, Miss Jana Mahoney. Please be recognized. So, it is now my great pleasure and honor to introduce to you Miss Amari Bryant.
Thank you, Ms. Wagner. Good evening, Dr. Ely, President Dreisbeck, and members of the board. My name is Amari Bryant, and I am a senior at Byron P. Still High School, a 2nd-year Practicum of Education student and a 3rd-year member of FCCLA. I am here representing the great organization Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America, also known as FCCLA. FCCLA was founded back in 1945 when it was then known as Future Homemakers of America. Although the name has changed, the purposes remain the same. Some of those purposes being to provide opportunities for personal development and preparation for adult life, and to encourage democracy through cooperative action in the home and community. It has been 75 long years since FCCLA was founded, and this year the organization is giving away an extra $75,000 in addition to the $1.9 million Texas FCCLA gives away every year. 2 of our very own Steele alumni received a combined total of $21,000. Steele FCCLA is very involved in the community, allowing our members to gain community service hours and experience what it's like to give back. This year specifically, Steele FCCLA members teamed up with our alternative learning experience teachers and put on multiple events to close the gap and create an all-inclusive environment for the ALE students. That's just one example of community service. Every year, FCCLA and Student Council pair up and host a mother-son event and daddy-daughter dance. These events are open to the community and allows parents to spend an unforgettable night with their children. Another event that Steele FCCLA and Student Council put on is Be Kind Week. This is a week-long event where each day you recognize how being kind affects someone's day. And on Wednesday, there's a lot of fun activities in the courtyard for students to enjoy with their classmates. Over the past 5 years, we have donated and given back to the community around $40,000. During that week last year, Steele raised over $9,000 to donate to CASA, which stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates. FCCLA has participated in the parade for the last 2 years and won number 1 in the truck category the first year and Mayor's Choice the second year, an event also involving Steele's very own ALE and FCCLA. This is an organization where you can not only make friends, earn scholarship money, and learn new skills, but it also allows you to give back to the community. My very first year, I was a replacement for a Students Taking Action with Recognition event, also known as STAR event, and I fell in love with the organization. Sorry. My second year, I informed my teacher. Excuse me, this is not a reason to cry. Okay. My second year, I informed my teacher that I wanted to run for office. Thank you. Oh, excuse me. In my second year, I informed my teacher that I wanted to run for office. And so we worked together to create my speech. And I studied really hard. And when the time came, I became the 2019-2020 Region 5 Vice President of Membership. Holding an office has taught me how to correctly formulate an email, talk to someone professionally, in person and over the phone, and also how to start and hold a conversation. And for the last 5 years,
last year we had 4 teams.
it's okay,
placed top 10,
it's
right?
okay, I'm good, thank you. Okay. Holding an office has taught me how to correctly formulate an email, talk to someone professionally, in person and over the phone, and also how to hold a conversation. Excuse me. Still, FCCLA has advanced to nationals for the last 5 years. Last year, we had 4 teams place top 10 in the nation and 1 placing first in the nation with the perfect score. One of my favorite things is the leadership component. Going to the National Leadership Conference taught me the many different skills for life. Through FCCLA and the Family Consumer Science classes, I have learned what I need to be successful in the next chapter of my life. My future goals and aspirations are to obtain a bachelor's degree in interdisciplinary studies. I would also like to obtain a master's in curriculum and instructions and one day return back to the Schertz-Cibolo-Universal City Independent School District. I would not be who I am today without the guidance and encouragement that my mother and my father and my teacher, Miss Mahoney, have provided me with. And I thank you for that. And thank you all for listening to me cry as I give this speech for no reason. Thank you. Thank you. Where's my phone?
Girls, you did a great job. Absolutely wonderful. My mom used to be a home economics and in charge of Future Homemakers of America a long time ago. So special place in my heart on that. All right, our next one is recognition of student achievements presented by Dr. Limley and Cassandra Gracia.
Thank you very much. Good evening, President Drazbek, Dr. Ely, and members of the board, and thank you for letting me follow that speech. Thank you. That's wonderful. Tonight, we're here to recognize the SCUCISD students who have achieved outstanding distinction in fine arts and athletics. We applaud their commitment and dedication to perform in these areas and bring excellence to our district. We would like to thank all of the students, parents, and friends for joining us here tonight for this chance to recognize student excellence. And we also want to congratulate our students on their accomplishments and best of luck to them in their bright future. We're going to start off with athletics. The following students were recognized as members of the 2019-2020 Academic All-State teams. An Academic All-State team is recognized as high school athletes who excel at the following categories: GPA, class rank, and ACT/SAT scores. We applaud them for their commitment and dedication to perform with the highest of excellence in academically and on the field or court. We're going to start off with our Clemens Academic All-State football team. It starts off with Alexander Aguilar, Isaiah Aguilar, Joseph Belusic, Sela Boyers. Mason Chambers is not here tonight. He is already at Iowa State University. Troy Irwin, Bryce Foreman, Jackson Macias, Vicente Perez, Isabella Salazar, Earl Tovar, Ryan Trevino, Evan Velasquez, and Madison Webb. Yes, we can clap for them. It's okay. And once they're done, go back up and get the picture. All right, group picture, guys. Parents, if you want to come up and take a picture, feel free. All right, good job, guys. All right, good job, guys. Next up, we'll have our Steel Academic All-State players. Braden Kanzler, JT Darbin, Kyle Humphrey, Jackson Ponder, Jonathan Tyler Ringel, Jonathan Sibbett, and David James Villarreal. I'm going to step back up and do a picture as soon as everybody's done. Okay, guys, let's get around here. Parents, if you want to step forward, please come forward. And also from Steele High School, we have our Academic All-State volleyball players, Kirsten Lazenby, Miranda Polanco, Riley Sherman, Malia Viernes, and Mackenzie Voles. All right, ladies, let's get a group picture, please. Good job, ladies. Next up, we'll do some individual award recognition. The following students were recognized for their individual athletic excellence at the state or national level. First up from Clemens, we have Jackson Andrews. Jackson was named to the Texas APSE 6A All-State Team. Jackson. Do you want to do this individually? There's like 3 more of them. Okay, we get them all up here. Okay, next up is Max DiDomenico. Max was named to the Texas APSE 6A All-State Team and to the Padilla Pole All-State Team. Max. Next up, we have Derrick Lewis. Derrick was named to the Texas APSE 6A All-State Team and to the Padilla Pole All-State Team as well. And next up, Jackson Macias. Jackson was named to the Texas APSE 6A All-State Team and to the Padilla Pole All-State Team as well. Jackson. All right, guys, let's get a group in. And from Steele High School, we have Damien Hart. Damien was named to the Texas APSE 6A All-State Team. Damien. Also from Steele, not here tonight, was Jalen Jones. Jalen was named to the Texas APSE 6A All-State Team, the Padilla Pole All-State Team, and was named an Under Armour All-American. Jalen is already at Texas A&M University, so he's not here tonight. See, it kind of stuck a little bit. You see that? Next up from Steele, we have Darren McKnight. Darren was named to the Texas APSE 6A All-State Team and to the Padilla Pole All-State Team as well. And that's it for football. All right, guys, let's get a group of Also from Steele High School in volleyball, we have Riley Sherman. Riley was named to the TAVC All-Texas Team. Riley. In fine arts, the area auditions for the Texas Allstate choirs were held January 11th in Corpus Christi, Texas. We would like to congratulate Tristino Ali from Samuel Clemens High School for being named to the TMEA All-State Tenor Bass Choir. Tristino performed with this choir this past Saturday. He performed with the choir this past Saturday, February 15th, at the TMEA Convention in San Antonio, which is an even greater honor this year as TMEA celebrates its 100 years as a Music Educators Association. Let's give Tristino one more round of applause. Our final celebration tonight is for our Samuel Clemens High School cheerleading squad. That's right, go ahead, it's okay. The Samuel Clemens High School cheerleading team was named at the 2020 UIL Spirit 6A Division II State Champion at the state competition, which was held January 16th through 18th in Fort Worth, Texas. Congratulations to the following Clemens students on a job well done. There's a bunch of them, so let's get ready. Allie Goldhorn, captain. Izzy Ranke, captain. Angelina Valencia. Skyla Navarro. Jasmine Wilder. Audrey Wistain. Serenity Fernandez. Zaire Franklin. Sophie Goldhorn. Alyssa Hernandez. Isabel Marquez. Alyssa Perez. Bailey Robertson. Mia Villanueva. Maddie Ehlers. Lindsay Bishop. Danny DeRocher. Ashley Davis. Brianna Killian. Ariana Martinez. Madison Mullins. Sierra Richardson. Tatiana Scafidi. Kaylee Shriver. Mia Valverde. Emma Wilkins, JV captain. Mary Beth Irwin, JV captain. Paige Barrett. Morgan Bryan. Layla Sharavino. Rivers Culleton. Camry Kling. Victoria Pitts. And Faith Porter. Actually, I'm less tall. You could probably get up here. Right? You can move back.
All right, this is for Instagram. All right, ready? Oh, whoops, sorry.
Good job, ladies. Fantastic job. I'll take it. Thank you. Very nice. Sure. Get out of the way. And one last thing, you'll notice we did have the Allstate plaque that we presented to you guys tonight. It'll go.
I'm sorry.
I just wanted to point out that we had the Allstate plaque that we presented tonight that will go out here.
Yes,
in the
that
place
is
of honor.
awesome. I feel honored that we got to hold it up there in that picture.
Right.
That's great.
All right. Thank you. That concludes
know.
our celebrations for tonight.
Yes.
Thank you.
Congratulations again to all of those students. All right, next we have our recognition of principal representatives for the month of February, presented by Veronica Goldhorn and Dr. Lindley.
Good evening, members of the board, President Dreisbach, and Superintendent Dr. Ely. As Director of Elementary Education, I would like to introduce to you our elementary principal who is attending this month's board meeting, Rhonda Young-Michael. Rhonda, if you'll please come forward. Rhonda Young-Michael is a proud principal at Cibolo Valley Elementary. She has been in education for a total of 19 years. Years in SCUC has been 15 years. And a fun fact about Mrs. Young-Michael is that she's going to be celebrating her 20th year in education. But before stepping into the classroom to help shape the children of our future, she first had to hang up her hard hat, untie her steel toe boots, and walk away from her first job following college graduation, working on the pipelines from her home state of Kansas to Texas. Ladies and gentlemen, Rhonda Young-Michael.
Hello again. Good evening, members of the board, President Dreisbach, and Superintendent Dr. Ely. I would like to introduce our secondary principal who's attending this month's board meeting. Stacy Cerna is our principal of our DAEP. She has served in education for 25 years. 21 of those have been right here in SCUCISD. A fun fact about Ms. Cerna is that she loves to camp and to be outside in nature. Ms. Cerna.
Thank you, principals, for all that you do. Next, we're going to have recognition of our National Career and Technical Education for the month of February, presented by Cassandra Gracia.
Good evening, President Dreisbach, Dr. Ely, and members of the board. Tonight, we're recognizing the contribution of the Career and Technical Education Department and acknowledging February is National CTE Month. Career and technical education offers students the opportunity to gain academic, technical, and employability skills necessary for true career readiness. Students in CTE programs participate in authentic, meaningful experiences that improve the quality of their education and increase their engagement and achievement. CTE provides students with career exploration opportunities early in their education, which enables them to make informed and beneficial decisions about their academic coursework and pursue established programs of study. Leaders from business and industry nationwide report increasing challenges related to addressing the skills gap and connecting qualified professionals with available careers in critical and growing CTE-related fields. CTE prepares students for these and other fulfilling careers by offering integrated programs of study that link secondary and post-secondary education that lead to the attainment of industry-recognized credentials. CTE programs ensure that employers have access to a qualified and thriving workforce. SCUC employs 56 full-time CTE staff members and reaches over 5,500 students. In 2018-19, CTE students earned 1,485 certifications. At this time, we'd like to invite Amy Massey, our CTE coordinator, Ms. Jana Mahoney, our CTE department lead at Steele, and Ms. Katie Skull, our CTE teacher at Clemens, to come to the front for a picture with the board. Thank you.
I just want to thank them for all that they do. CTE is just, I know that's not a fancier word than when we were growing up, what it was called, career technical education, but my own daughter is in CTE and has had one of those teachers, and so I just know how much work they put in, and even as these girls said, the contest and all the extra time that our CTE teachers spend. So we thank you for all that you do, and that encompasses a lot more than what people realize, that just teaching a regular class. So thank you. Next, we're going to have recognition of counseling awareness for the month of February, presented by Cassandra Gracia.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for providing this time to recognize the work that the SCUC professional school counselors do to provide support to all students, staff, and parents in our district. A week in February is designated as National School Counseling Week, and this recognition is to focus public attention on the unique contribution of professional school counselors within U.S. school systems and how students are different as a result of what school counselors do. A school counselor's primary responsibility is to counsel students. And through the delivery of a comprehensive school counseling program, they do this through curriculum competencies such as interpersonal effectiveness, intrapersonal effectiveness, post-secondary planning and career readiness, and personal health and safety. Under this umbrella, counselors deliver lessons to address bullying, suicide and self-harm prevention, responsible social media usage, dating violence, sexual assault, anxiety, kindness, and friendship, to name a few. Counselors have also provided instruction to all students in our district on traits of a graduate, which also correspond with the 5 social-emotional learning competencies. In just the first semester of this school year, our school counselors have delivered or provided over 1,330 guidance lessons, 4,600 individual planning sessions, 3,700 individual counseling sessions, 365 groups, 40 parent presentations, 45 staff trainings, and worked with over 140 students at risk for suicidal ideation or self-harm. At this time, would the school counselors who are present tonight please come to the front to be recognized and take a picture with the board. Thank you again for recognizing the hard work of the SCUC counseling team.
Thank you, Ms. Gracia, and thank you, counselors. I know some aren't here, and there are so many in this district. I can't remember the exact number that we have, but we appreciate all they do, and their job covers many, many things that a whole gamut that these counselors do. You can't even imagine everything they have to do. So we appreciate all that you do for our students, even some of our families, and in partnering definitely with our CIS as well that we have. So we just thank you for all that y'all do. All right, next on the agenda, we have our public comments. The Board of Trustees will now hear public comments. In order to provide consistency and fairness to all individuals, public comments will be heard in accordance with Board Policy BED Local and procedures outlined in Administrative Regulation BED. Comments should be limited to topics such as policy, curriculum, and facilities. Any direct criticism of a specific employee will not be heard during public comments and should be considered separately as provided in board policy. In this context, individuals are cautioned to not identify any employee by name or by any combination of words or descriptions which could identify the employee to another individual. Public comments will be limited to individuals who signed up to participate in the public comment portion of the meeting before the board meeting was called to order. An individual who signs up to participate in the public comment portion of the meeting may not relinquish their time to another individual. No public comment shall exceed 3 minutes. To ensure compliance with time limitations, a yellow card will be held up by the board secretary at 2 minutes, and a red card will be held up at 3 minutes. And our first public comments is Casey. I'm going to butcher that last name, I think. Will you say your last name?
Sure, I will. Thank you. Good evening, President Dreisbach, Superintendent Dr. Ely, and the board. My name is Casey Tankersley. I know it's very different. And I am the community relations representative with GBEC. And most importantly, I'm here on behalf of the Chamber Leadership Corps program, the class of 2020. And so as part of our requirements, we must attend a school board meeting. So I am happy to be here. And I wanted to share some appreciation and gratitude to SCUCISD for spending the day with us just a couple of weeks ago. We spent a nice chunk of our day with you guys, and we learned so much about how school districts operate, the board, specifically here at SCUCISD. And so I may or may not have tried to convince my husband to move from my hometown of Livonia here to this area that evening, just based off of what y'all showed us that morning and the opportunities that you provide the students here within your school district. So on behalf of the Leadership Corps program, I want to thank y'all for spending that time with us and really educating us on the importance of the school district and how it works. So thank you.
Thank you, Cassie. And I want to, that program always once a year of the Leadership Corps, which that's awesome that you're part of that. That's wonderful. They come and visit, go to different places, city government. They spent a morning here and got on a bus and rode around the district and looked at all the campuses. Dr. Ely was part of that bus ride and had, I think, a lunch at the culinary students cooked for them as well. And so I had the privilege of just welcoming them, Mr. Perkins and I. So we thank you for being part of it. All right. Next on our agenda is our superintendent's update by Dr. Ely.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. It is a privilege and an honor to be here, and I'd just like to spend a little bit talking about my first 2.5 weeks here in SCUCISD. To say it's been a whirlwind is an understatement, but it has been a wonderful time starting to learn this community and getting to know people in this great school district and in this area. I am happy to say that I've been to all 16 of our regular education campuses. Ms. Stern, I'm sorry I've not been to see you yet. I'll be coming very soon. I started off at the high schools, the 2 junior highs, and our 3 intermediate schools by doing student tours. And that's what I did the first week. And that was really a wonderful experience to be able to talk with students and hear about their experiences, including one of my tour guides is over here, Mari to the right, and hear all about their experiences, what they like and what brought them to this community and what the school district does for them. A couple of things really came out to me in that week in talking with those students, and those are their fierce love for this community, for their schools, and for their teachers. To a student that I talked to, they loved being part of SCUC. They loved their school, and they believed they had the best teachers in the entire world. And that just shone through in that first week as I talked with all those students. I appreciate the principals for allowing me to do that. This last week, I was able to, and all the way through today, I was able to go to all 8 of our elementary campuses. And some of our elementary principals are in the back, and I appreciate y'all for letting me come and pepper you with questions. And they're all laughing and nodding because I just roasted them with questions because I just wanted to know how we do things around here. And they were wonderful, and their staffs were wonderful as well to introduce me around and let me get to know a little bit about what goes on here. But what the highlight of last week for me was getting in classrooms and watching instruction. Getting down and seeing what our kids, pre-K, K, 4th grade, whatever, are doing. I saw a lot of 1st grade math, and we counted a lot of coins. I did a little area and perimeter. We did a number of things in our classrooms across the district, and I was amazed by our leaders, their understanding and knowledge of curriculum instruction, and what our kids are doing in the classroom. So I appreciate the opportunity to be able to do that this last week. In the meantime, I've had a reception for those of you who were able to come and greet me on the 12th. I appreciate you coming. I'm sorry I forgot your name. There was a lot of people here, but I really appreciate the opportunity to meet folks in the community. I've been able to meet with the city of Schertz, Schertz PD, meeting with city of Cibolo on Friday. We had, as Ms. Tankersley said, we had the leadership core, and appreciate Mr. Mosley and Mr. Perez for taking us around the district. It was beneficial for me to be able to see all of our campuses and especially all of our communities that we serve in this district. So it has been great. I'm looking forward to my next, I guess, 90 days of getting here and finding out, what all we do great here in SCUCISD. I'm sure I'm leaving something out in there, but it has been great. Thank you for making me feel so welcome in this community. And I guess I go to item B, which is update on budget and timeline. Superintendent talks more than 5 minutes. He's going to talk about the budget. So we do have a budget, and we will have to adopt our budget, but not till the end of August. So we have started that process. Just want to say thank you to CFO Wayne Pruski and his team for their excellent job that they did in our very first budget workshop that we had on February 4th, incidentally my second day on the job. We had a budget workshop, but I appreciate Wayne, I appreciate you and your team for the information you brought together. It gave us a high-level overview of some of the parameters that we're going to have to consider as a team up here as we make decisions going forward. This is, as I said, a long process, so it'll be 6 months of working on this. We will get more and more tighter revenue projections and expense projections, and we'll continue to bring those to you over the next several months, and we will continue to refine that process. So thank you, Wayne, for that. And then my last item, thank you, is an update on full-day pre-kindergarten. Thank you to our friends in the Texas legislature for passing House Bill 3. And not only did it increase funding for schools and provide other opportunities, but it provided the opportunity for full-day pre-K for eligible students. Districts have the opportunity that's what I'm looking for, to transition into that. And that's one of the things that we will be bringing to your consideration later on in this board meeting, is applying for a waiver to phase in our full-day pre-K over the next 3 years. I would like for Dr. Edwards to come up here and give us some more detailed information about full-day pre-K. Dr. Edwards, or I'm sorry, speak from your place there. However we do it around here.
I appreciate that. I'll stay here. Thanks. Appreciate that. So we've talked about this several times in here and also for the community. As Dr. Ely mentioned, part of that session, House Bill 3 requires us, for our district, to move, start to move from a half-day pre-K to a full-day pre-K. So the district has begun the process of following the requirements that are spelled out as part of that House bill. And we will bring back later to you as an action item a request to proceed forward with a required waiver. And as we get to that action item, we'll provide some more information on that. But we have followed the necessary steps and processes to be able to allow that implementation, that phase in, as Dr. Ely mentioned, and we'll outline a little bit more of that when we come to that action item.
Madam President, that's my report.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Ely, and Dr. Edwards as well on the pre-K update. Next, we have our report on board advocacy, review of monthly board member participation, involvement, and our roundings, our district, community, and government events. Mr. Westbrook, do you want to start?
I had the opportunity since the last board meeting to attend a swimming competition, a budget workshop, the Northeast Partnership Luncheon, Tri-County Luncheon, the Chamber Luncheon, TASB Lone Star Investment Meeting up in Austin, Career Day at Jordan, EPAC meeting. There was a great presentation put on by the Steele counselors for vapor awareness at Steele High School, World Read Aloud Day at Schertz Elementary, and had the opportunity to visit with some local politicians at Dr. Ely's welcome reception.
I started out the month at the end of last month and went to the National Association of School Board Equity Symposium and Advocacy Conference. That was a very neat opportunity to see what we do at the Texas legislature level and go to the national level. We had to be spun up a little bit on the national issues and our thoughts. And then we went through the security on Capitol Hill, and boom, we were in the building. And I have to do a little aside. 25 years ago, when I was stationed at the Pentagon, I made a trip to Capitol Hill and made some presentations, and the place has not changed a bit. The names have changed, not all of them. Some of those names were there 25 years ago when I went as a captain. But the place is every bit the same. You can walk freely down the halls. It's a testament to our free society and how every vote counts and everybody can get in there and get access to our congressman. Another neat story is I walked into Congressman Doggett's office, and Megan Hunt, a 2019 Clemens grad, is the intern sitting at his desk greeting, and that was pretty neat. And I had to take an opportunity to get a photo with that and share that with everyone. Very good conference, and we're doing well advocating for more spending on education without more restrictions. I also got, as we heard earlier, we got to greet the Chamber Leadership Corps and send them on their tour give them an overview and then welcome them onto the buses. I didn't go with them on the buses. Tri-County Chamber Luncheon, Northeast Partnership Luncheon, Communities and Schools Finance Committee meeting, and then we had a board meeting this morning, and then the Chamber Schertz-Cibolo-Selma area luncheon today.
We had the budget meeting the other day. We got a lot of good information about where we're at. Had the combined community advisory committee, was that last Thursday? Yeah. And had a really good turnout on that. Have a lot of people that are really interested in our process and what we do here. Like to invite more public to come into our meetings. We need all the input we can get because we've got a lot of things coming up. We've got bond issues coming up soon. We've got just general education. So the more people we have show up at our committee meetings, the better we get an idea what the public needs and wants and what they're willing to spend for it. So I really appreciate that. And talking about going to Washington, you're exactly right. Once you get through security, you can pretty well walk where you want to. I remember when I was there the year before, I actually stepped into the House Judiciary Committee as they were forming. It was the first day after the government shutdown. So they were sitting up there going through the whole thing and basically organized the subcommittees. It was really fascinating to sit there for an hour to watch that happen. So I really appreciate that. I'd like to do it again, but it is a bit of a culture shock when you get up there and you realize, wait a minute, this is the big time. I've been in the Texas legislature and that was a lot of fun, but when you're up there and you see where $4.some trillion is spent, you get a really good and interesting picture. So I really appreciate that. Thank y'all.
Got a chance to read Miss Ryan's first grade class at Watts Elementary. I think it was that super duper cold day we had a couple weeks ago. And fantastic kids, very impressed with how they behaved and enjoyed my time there. I've been to several basketball games at Steele and Clemens. Also attended I guess it's the later signing day for scholarships for athletes over at Steele a couple weeks ago. And it's great to see those kids. I remember I attended Clemens, and I don't think anybody back in those days thought of college scholarships for athletics. We certainly didn't get any. So it was pretty impressive to see that many kids involved. Another thing, I think everybody knows we're not elected on partisan basis up here, Republican, Democrat. It's just not an issue. But I went to what's called the Republican Party's local candidate forum the other day. The way it works here in Guadalupe County, most everybody who's elected is a Republican. Just that's the way it works. But nevertheless, I had several candidates for county commissioner, county sheriff, U.S. Congress, and State Board of Education. And there were several questions about education, quite honestly, and about funding. The one thing that did happen there, pretty much everyone who responded all spoke very highly of this school district. And that's a testament to everybody in this room. So.
I wanted to bounce off Mr. Finley's, the CCAC. So that wasn't a called board meeting. So there are only 3 board members present. And those are the ones that serve on the CAC committee, Community Advisory Committee, as well as the DIC, the District Improvement Committee. But it was live streamed, and I was actually traveling and was able to watch it. I encourage anybody to go back and watch that recording of the CCAC. A lot of people always ask us when the next school will come or this or that. And the demographer's report is on there. It's a very interesting listen. And it also talks about our 10-year plan, which is always in draft mode, depending on where the students live and where they're going. But if anybody's interested in that, I would highly recommend it's recorded and it's on our website that you can watch. This month I've attended basketball games and board workshop on the budget. I did a read out loud at Watts on reading day, chamber core welcome, which I mentioned. I was glad to be part of that. Dr. Ely's reception, like Mr. Westbrook, got to talk to many people that day. Chamber lunch today. It was also great to see the 3 cities gave their state of cities address, I guess, or state of cities address, and have some videos, and it was really good. And then all you know, I'm a dance mom, so I was at a dance competition for about 16 hours on Saturday. So still competed in one, and Clemens competed in 2 different ones on Saturday. All right. Next, we have our board recess, but I think we're all okay to continue. Is that all right? But those students, I know you might have homework at home that you want to do. So if you are free to leave if you'd like to, or you can stay. That is totally your choice. But thank you so much for coming. We appreciate y'all being here. You're okay. We didn't need a recess. I didn't think after an hour. You're okay. All right. Next on the agenda, we have our new business report and discussion items. The first one is a construction update for the month of February presented by Mr. Mosley.
And good evening, President Dreisbach, Superintendent Dr. Ely, and members of the board. So this evening, we are starting off talking about the 2016 bond program. And then, so the 3 projects we have listed there: Clemens High School additions and renovations, technology, and then our bond savings projects. Reminder of our Clemens project, we are 97% complete. I wish we were 99%, but we're 97%. We'll look at some things as we go along. Just a reminder again, we kind of look at these at the last time during the construction report, just all of the things that we've actually done at that campus, and it continues to amaze me that where we have come with that campus during this time. We still are looking at project completion in spring of 2020. The 2 ongoing activities that you see, so we were really working really hard to get outside of the building by Christmas, and we did it. So we're not in the building anymore, but Mother Nature has not been our friend since then. So the projects you're looking at right now are outside projects. The Courtyard expansion, happy to tell you we've got our shades up at the Courtyard now. I feel pretty confident by the end of the week we'll have the furniture out there, and next week we hope to see some students out there. And so really excited about that area. I know campus is very excited to have that area coming on board. And then our visitor parking lot. Again, we were hoping to have that done last week, but the rain has really put a damper on us getting our asphalt and concrete down. So, but that is really close as well. So if you drove by this evening, you saw, we've got the steel down for the sidewalks and stuff, and we're thinking maybe late this week, if it holds off, we'll be able to get that completed as well. Just some pictures, so I'll just kind of go around the clock there. Top left, that is the Courtyard. And so you can kind of see the Tenso shades up there. Under that will be tables for kids to be able to sit at outside for lunch. Your bottom left down there is just another angle of that same area. The plywood that you see on the concrete there is just protection. And so when I first looked at the picture, I was like, what do we have there? But it's just protecting our concrete for the equipment that was up in there working. Top right, if you remember the old Courtyard, there's a tree right there by the cafeteria. So we were able to save the tree, and we added a nice surround to it. So it'll be kind of like a little bench seating area around that tree. And then on that bottom right, you can also see there's another landscape area circle there. That one's actually going to have benches around the outside of it, so some more seating area for our students. Moving on, so this is the parking lot up front. So that top left, again, we've got our asphalt finished up there, and you can kind of see by the looks of the asphalt, you see the mud and things that we've been having a little issues with the last few weeks. The bottom left, that's got all of our metal, our steel in it for pouring the sidewalk. And one of the things I like about that bottom left picture is if you follow that large sidewalk straight up to the front of it, you can see how it leads straight into the front entrance of the campus. And so I think that's really one of the nice features, and we're hoping that once everything's finished, that's the kind of the way when our kids that walk to campus from that area, they'll use that sidewalk. Top right, my favorite part of that picture is you don't see the trailers anymore. They're gone. So trailers are gone. So we got a lot of cleanup to do over there. We've got some asphalt work to do where those trailers were and where all those things were stored still. And then the bottom right is our exit from the faculty parking lot to the to Schertz Parkway. I will make notes since I have a microphone. That is a right out and a right in entrance for Schertz Parkway only. And so we've got a little bit of teaching to do there. So but we're working on that. Moving on, our technology. Again, we are working on phase 3 starting this June. And I believe Dr. Burkholder will talk a little bit more about that later this evening, I believe. So we're 66% complete on that. Bond savings projects. And so just kind of an update of where we are with the current bond savings projects that we've brought to the board already. So the HVAC replacement, Green Valley, Malish, and Clemens Kitchen, that will start this summer. And then we will again hit Malish in the fall. We have started talking about impacts to Malish. And then the Clemens Beard Gym Roof Project. We did a good chunk of that in December while we were on holidays. Very successful part because that was where all of the HVAC equipment was. And so we had no HVAC during Christmas, but they took it off, got it back up there, the roof, new roof on, and no impact to our students during that time. The major parts of the metal roofing will happen during spring break, again, trying to do minimize the impact on our students there. The third project you see there is our emergency generators. That's Watts, Wilder, Jordan, and MDLC. You'll see that coming to you this evening. And then the Clemens safety netting, we did finish that up in I guess middle of last week maybe, and that is the netting that you saw going up along the side of Clemens over there. A couple of pictures. So these are pictures of the netting, and again, the purpose of the netting was really student safety and protecting our building. And so the picture at the top left, you can kind of see how that netting comes down there, and it blocks the student pathway from the portables back up to the campus. And so if you were walking from the portables, you were walking right straight at the outfield of the baseball. So that netting is giving us some protection for our student circulation there, as well as for our building on that side. And then you can kind of see the other pictures of that netting going across there. And then our 2013 bond savings projects, the Adobe Courtyard construction, again, expected hopefully to start in late March and then completion this summer for the Adobe Courtyard. I'll take any questions if anyone has any.
Any questions? Good job,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Mosley. Thank you for that update. All right, next is our procurement of goods and services presented by Mr. Matt Rivera.
Procurement of goods and services. We have one item on here for discussion. That's the facility restoration services. And without some background, you might wonder, well, what kind of restoration are we talking about? If you might recall, back in June of 2015, it was a while ago, we did an RFP for restoration services. This is for Gerloff, Blackman Mooring. You'll see their commercials on television. Thankfully, we haven't had any of the major calamities that many of our sister districts have had across the state from time to time. Our calamities are a pipe will break. And next thing you know, it goes through the whole wing, and then we've got some issues, and we need some restoration services. Historically, we had used purchasing cooperatives to provide that contract vehicle for us. However, one year they let their contract lapse, and we were in a bit of a bind. So rather than depending on them for this particular emergency service, we decided to go out from that point forward on our own RFP. So that particular contract is about to expire. We're going back out again for a solicitation to bring that back before the board in the next month or so.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Any questions?
I just wondered, I know recently Ms. Kovacs and Dr. Edwards gave an Education 101 about, what was it, Education 101? What was the title of it? Curriculum 101. See, I didn't listen. I wasn't listening. But is there something similar to like a Procurement 101 for board members? Like, is there something that board members should know? I mean, I know you always give an excellent answer, but obviously they felt it was necessary for us to learn more about curriculum. And so.
That's an excellent question. We can do whatever you like. We're here. We're excited when somebody wants to ask about procurement. It's like, tell me how accounting works. It's like, you just don't hear that. So we are so excited.
But it just, almost everything has to run through procurement, correct?
It does.
Well, we can't do anything without.
Finance,
Yes.
fiscal, budget. I get it.
But we'd be happy to do that. We had put together a presentation for assistant principals. And I think it would be very good for board members if you're interested, just a short presentation, give you the
I think that's a great
essentials.
idea. Yeah.
Is that going to be
'cause-
optional if we attend it?
It's up to the board president.
No, I think that'd be good, just because sometimes we know we buy things through board book and where those things fall, and, I think that's a great idea, Mr. Westbrook.
Just general knowledge.
Just general knowledge, it helps with, so you may not have to explain sometimes as much, when we'll understand maybe a little more too, so,
Or you may have to go into really bad detail because we have no clue what you're saying.
yes. Any other questions for Mr. Rivera? All right, next on discussion is our annual allotment and TEAC certification for school year 2020-2021, presented by Ms. Kovacs.
Yes, good evening. As we have the past several years, next month we plan to bring you the TEAC certification for 2020-2021. Boy, that's a mouthful every time I say it. This document is required by the Texas Education Code. It indicates that our instructional materials collectively cover all of the Texas essential knowledge and skills for each subject and grade level. The current form for 1920 is the only one that you have in your board book because they haven't released the 2020-2021 version yet, though we're anticipating that they will soon, and we don't expect any changes. So our plan is to next month bring you that completed form, indicating that we do meet all of the TEACs with our instructional materials. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions? Okay. Next on discussion is new positions for various campuses for our school year 2020-2021, presented by Ms. Cannon.
Yes, good evening. As we discussed in our last board workshop, we will be requesting additional positions for the 2021 school year. These are based on the implementation of full-day pre-K at a couple of our campuses for next year, along with the demographic projections that our demographer provides us. So we would be looking at 5 teachers. 3 of those would be pre-K teachers, 4 pre-K paraprofessionals to help in those pre-K classrooms, 2 bus monitors to help with the pre-K routes, and then with the growth in some of the service lines at the cafeteria level, we would need a child nutrition campus assistant manager. Tonight is for discussion item only. We would be bringing it back in March for approval.
Any questions? I know it said 5, I was going to say 2 regular ed.
That's
for-
correct.
For growth,
3
exactly.
3
for K.
pre-K and 2 additional for the K-6
K-6.
level. Yes.
Considering that most of this is for growth or to satisfy House Bill 3, we kind of don't really have a choice. So, but it's good that we're still growing and hiring new people. So that's a good sign too.
Yes, correct.
Any other questions? Okay, last is our board consideration for those that are going to go on the consent for next month. And so those would be our facility restoration services. Matt, Mr. Rivera, do you think that'll be on for April, I'm sorry. Okay. And then our TEAC certification and annual allotment is March, as well as the new positions will be March. So 2 of those will be March, and the first one will be April.
Madam President, you might want to pull that TEAC certification form since that's actually spending of dollars and it's a state form. So I might want to have an independent vote on that, just
Okay.
so
We'll
that
pull that
everybody
one not
understands
to be in the full.
Because one of the things that we have to do every year is certify that we are indeed following state requirements. So I just think an individual vote
Sure.
on that would be a good idea, and the public understand that we take it very seriously.
Absolutely. Mr. Finley will pull that one. And then, so the only one on the full consent one would be the new positions. That would be for growth, as well as if the pre-K, for a full day pre-K at a couple of campuses. All right, thank you. Next, we're moving to action items on page 31. Do I have a motion?
Nope. I move that the Board of Trustees approve the consent agenda items A through E as presented. Approval of minutes, approval of financial statements, acceptance of superintendent's report on budgeted purposes, approval of technology display panel replacement project, and approval of solicitation for the emergency power generators.
I second.
Any discussion? A motion, a second, any discussion? And for those, just to realize, those were discussion items last month, other than our minutes and our financial statements that were in our meeting last month. All right, so we've had a motion, a second, no discussion. Then all those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, it passes 5-0. All right, next action item is the request for board approval on our targeted improvement plan for 2019-2020 for Schertz Elementary and Sipple Elementary, presented by Ms. Goldharn.
I move that the Board of Trustees approve the targeted improvement plan for Schertz and Sipple Elementary. Campuses that received an overall D rating in the Texas State Accountability System are required to develop a target improvement plan using the Effective Schools Framework, which has an aligned improvement plan that we must follow. It's a template developed by the Texas Education Agency.
We are on page 32. 64. Oh, 64, sorry. Yes, we're much further than that. Oh, it was on the next one.
How many campuses do we have that meet that criteria?
We just have the 2, Schertz Elementary and Sipple Elementary.
Okay. Thank you.
Do I have a motion, then we can discuss?
Madam President, I move the Board of Trustees approve the targeted improvement plan, or TIP, for Schertz Elementary and Sipple Elementary campuses for school year 2019-2020 as presented.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion?
Okay.
Do it. Go ahead.
Go for it. I'm still looking.
I know we got a D in both these campuses. What's the major part of the TIP that you're going to be focusing on during this next year? I know our reading has been not great and our writing hasn't been all that great either. So are we going to be going after the reading and the writing part, or is this going to be a general improvement plan for the school as a whole? And also, are we targeting certain grades? Because I know that, one grade it can be very well off, or say third grade's doing really good, and all of a sudden fourth grade's not, or vice versa. So I guess I'm asking, is this a targeted TIP to go after our weaknesses?
So when the state of Texas, TEA, developed the Effective Schools Framework, there are 5 levers in which a campus selects to focus on. So you mentioned reading and writing. Reading is definitely going to be addressed through our teacher reading academies, through the screener that we have coming our way. There will be other opportunities to be able to address those specific items. However, the Effective Schools Framework identifies 5 areas in which a principal selects based on their state of their school. So the principals undergo a self-evaluation of their campus with their leadership team, with the entire campus, and they go through a process. And it's a very thorough process that I think that Mrs. Bristow and Mrs. Pope will agree that it is an intense process in which they must go through to determine those 5 levers that they are to focus on based on TEA's Effective Schools Framework Guide.
I'm just jumping here. So yes, they do. They will look at their data and they will make some changes and prioritize some areas. But they look at things like the overall distribution and the guaranteed viable curriculums at the campus. They look at the use of data in informing instruction. They look at the campus culture. So look at a number of those areas as a part of the development of the plan. I would add that not only were the principals, the leadership team, the campuses, but also public was involved in those development of those plans as well. And so when you look at the two, you will notice they're a little different because the nature and needs of the campuses are a little different. So I applaud the principals and their leadership teams for coming together and determining the direction they need to go. This is a plan that does live and breathe, and it will be monitored as we go through it for this entire year as we move in through the remainder of the spring and into next year.
I'll just ask, so this is the first year that each of these campuses got this rating, correct?
For sure.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and what are the consequences, if any, if they don't improve moving forward?
TEA identifies what those next steps would follow. We would continue, a campus that would continue to score a D would continue to be under the Effective Schools Framework, would be required once again to submit a targeted improvement plan. And there would be other trainings that a principal would be required to attend. So there are other, TEA mandates that.
Okay, so
to
kind of
our
an
school districts.
ongoing monitoring. I mean, there's not a so-called death penalty or something like that after 2 years, or school shutdowns, situation like that, I guess is what I'm asking. There's not, it's ongoing monitoring, improvement along those lines.
No, sir. In school improvement, those are after repeated years of substandard performance, and so not on a second year. No, sir.
Okay. And then I didn't look at all the details in there, but is there any part of it that pulls the community in or parents in to help with any kind of improvement plan? If you can talk about that.
Yes, sir. As Dr. Ely mentioned, part of the process is also to hold a public meeting with your community, and both campuses have done that. They shared information that they had gathered from their Effective Schools Framework work, presented it to their partners, their community members, business members, and parents, shared the information, shared the data, and explained to them, here are our priorities that we have selected in our Effective Schools Framework.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes, so we're in cycle 2, or I see 4 cycles.
Through the year, yes, it's divided into quarterly formative checks that the campuses are required to do. So that's why you'll see the 4 cycles.
Okay, on cycle 1, I'm trying to figure out which page, on page 82, but it's not, I think it's page 82. I'm not sure for which campus this is. I'm trying to figure it out, but says student data, percentage of students at campus determine proficiency level for cycle 1. So you see all the red marks to the right. So you're asking for 50% of the students to meet proficiency, to be at proficiency level, and some of those only at 35, 29.
Yes, and if you'll notice, cycle 1 is also the beginning of the year assessment. So this is an opportunity for teachers, for principals to understand, here's our benchmark. This is where we begin. This is what we have to work on. And so those were the beginning of the year scores. And then so as we go through to cycle 2 and cycle 3, you will see improvements within those areas. The particular chart that you're looking at, the universal screener is being used as the map growth screener. And so as the cycles continue, teachers and principals work on targeting, okay, here's where we were, here's where we are, and now what are we going to do to improve?
I get that. So which cycle are we in right now?
We are in cycle 3. Starting 3, yeah.
We just started 3, so when will we get cycle 2 data? Because it says cycle 1 here on this one. So if we just started cycle 3, cycle 2 data should already be completed, or is it being?
It is completed, so we just need to enter it into that spreadsheet. Yeah, I think, yes, I'm thinking that when those were submitted in January, when they were attached as a PDF, we just need to provide you the updated. As Dr. Ely said, this is a live working document, so we just need to give you the updates.
It's live and working, but cycle 1 is already dead. I mean, it's already passed.
Right, what I'm saying is what you're looking at is a PDF version, and so
Yes.
you're not looking at the live document, and so we can see the data is already submitted.
Yes.
You just don't have that in front of you because you're looking at a PDF.
So maybe
get-
we can include that in board update after each cycle? Would that
Yes,
be
that's
good
not-
too?
Sure, not a problem.
No problem. Then the 50%, is that standard, or is is that low, or, I mean, 50% of the students to meet proficiency level, it's only half.
I think also what we're looking at is map growth is not your standard 100% is what we're looking at. We are learning on how to interpret our map growth data. Principals and teachers are learning about how to transform what we call a RIT score in map growth to a percentage score. It's like STAR, where we have scaled scores and we have to convert that to a percentage score to understand it in layman terms. So that's what we're looking at as here's the bar within map growth. And so
Mr. Westberg, I think it's, just let me jump in here. I think it's important to recognize that when we look at STAR scores too, the passing rate and the approaches rate is not 50% or it's not 70%. We've all gone to school and we think 70% is passing, but when you do standardized assessments and the way the state does, it is not always that. So 50% actually can be higher at some of these grade levels on some of these assessments than the approaches number is in these corresponding state assessments.
Well, and I'll also say, Mr. Westbrook, what you asked about again was that beginning of the year data. So that says students are coming in right after summer break. Obviously, anytime we see that, there's opportunities for improvement, and that's what's addressed. What is, we have formative and summative assessments. What you're seeing is summative assessments when we look at this. As you mentioned, it's already behind us. What we do from then is we've got to start planning ahead, but all throughout that process, our campuses and our PLC teams are monitoring that ongoing progress assessment, be it through grades, through common assessments from the campus, through common assessments of the district. So there is a process that we have where teachers and teacher teams, along with the campus administration, are monitoring that progress, making adjustments, differentiating, offering remediation all along the way. So yes, when you see that next mark, you're looking for gains, you're looking for growth. Sometimes growth may stay red as well for some students that we'd identify in the red, but we're seeing some growth or closing the gaps, if you will. And those are terms that are used interchangeably with our assessment, but it's also terms that we factor on because we do want to close the gaps. We do want to see a student gain at least a year. For those students that are behind, our goal is for them to gain a year plus, so we're continually trying to catch them up. Some students we may not be able to catch up in a year. Because of where they are. But that's what we focus on, is that continuous improvement and that growth mindset for our students moving forward.
All right. I do appreciate it. I don't want to belabor the point because it can always be submitted in the board update. But like I said, I was just trying to get an understanding of the 50%, the meets and masters. So as Dr. Ely alluded to, that, it's sort of different for standardized testing. So I understand that portion of it. And then I think always, and I think this point has been asked before, is what has changed, right? That's always a change because PLC was used before standardized testing and got us these results. So now we're still using PLC. So you always want to know what exactly changed with PLC or any other inputs, tools, techniques that you're using that you didn't use before. Because if you're still using...
And PLC is not a tool that you're using. It's a process where teachers are collaborating. That's where you get the differences of what did we use last year, what did work, what didn't work. Let's continue what's working. Let's find something else that we're doing in that. In regards to the data, if you'll recall back in the fall, we did bring some data to you that showed the priorities. That was not based on MAP data because, again, it's beginning and middle of the year, but that was based on our quarterly assessment data. So we have several different ways that we'll bring data to you that shows how our students are performing and how they're learning, and we'll continue to do that.
And I'd also like to add in our PLC work, where we began our journey back in 2015, what we realized as principals and curriculum coordinators, and the first thing that we needed to do in our PLC work was to identify our critical content, and that is what we've been working on for the last several years in creating assessments, identifying FPGs through that critical content. So it is a process. It's not something that will happen overnight, but we have certainly grown as the district for it and have been better off for that PLC work.
Thank you very much. Madam
President, I may be jumping the gun here, or as they say, jumping the shark. These are 2 D campuses right now. How many C campuses do we have this last year? Do I remember? Because I don't remember off the top of my head.
Last year was a preliminary year, and I don't know offhand as well, but this is the first year where we've utilized the ratings and they've been public. So I'll have to go back and get that information for you.
The reason I bring that up is that with the state continuing to change their mind on stuff, and one of the things we want to is continually improve our campuses and our education is if we have C campuses, we might want to look into what can we do to keep those campuses falling into this D category where they don't have to go through this process. I know they're continuing to do things that are trying to make the education better, but you can have a campus that could be a borderline D or C and fall into it next year. And can we identify those campuses and give them some additional help to not fall into this area where they have to go through all this detailed work and additional training? So, because one thing we don't want to do is fall behind or have campuses that we can save or not fall into a D category, not fall in there. So what can we do to help that prospect, or what can we do to identify that potential? I'm not saying we had that potential, but when you have a C campus, it's like anything else. When a student has a C, they can fall into that D very easily, or can we get them up to a B? So it's a question. I'm just wondering, can we look at that and see, is there something we can do? Or
we can, and what I'd like to share with you is the 2 campuses were required to go through the Effective Schools Framework by TEA. Our other campuses, who are C campuses, made a commitment, and we made a commitment as a district that we would all go through the Effective Schools Framework and learn from it. So that way, we're not in a situation of being reactive, but we are being proactive.
That's what I was hoping you'd say, so I'm happy. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All right, we've had a motion, a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, passes 5-0. Thank you, Ms. Goldhorn, for your explanation. Next, we have our request for board approval, conveyance of easement to the city of Schertz at RAF Burnett Road for our new water line, presented by Mr. Rivera and Mr. Pruski.
Thank you, Madam President. The purpose of this easement is to allow the city of Schertz access to install and maintain an underground water utility line, which will provide support for the local area, including our elementary, junior high, and potentially a future intermediate site off of Lower Seguin Road at the end of RAF Burnett. The city of Schertz, on behalf of the Schertz-Seguin Local Government Corporation, will require access to erect, construct, install, and lay, and thereafter access to use, operate, inspect, repair, maintain, replace, upgrade the water transmission and or distribution lines. Our additional background information we gathered from local sources. There's a project plan for $2.3 million for this pipeline, going to a new 1-million-gallon Corbett elevated storage tank, which if you haven't been back there, they've got the water tank on the bottom and it's just about to go up to the top. So the water tank is moving pretty quick. Unfortunately, the water line itself won't be ready for that tank for a little while. But everything in its time. Currently, the city of Schertz is waiting for us to take this action, and then they'll take their action to go ahead and begin work on that site.
Madam President, I move the board authorize the board president to execute the 15-foot wide water pipeline easement agreement and 20-foot wide wastewater pipeline easement agreement and transfer of infrastructure in place and the temporary construction easements contained therein, prepared by council for the district and as presented to and accepted by the city of Schertz, dedicating and conveying such utility easements located on RAF Burnett Road between Schaefer Road and the district's Lower Seguin Road site to the city of Schertz for public use and ongoing maintenance and upkeep.
Second.
We've had a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Well, it certainly can't help but help us along the way. So to give a little bit of land to get another water source, to get some pipelines to there and wastewater, that sounds like a win-win for me. So.
Definitely in that area, yes. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Our next action item is a request for board approval, application of full-day pre-K exemption waiver for the 2019-2020, 2020-2021, and 2021-2022 school years to the Texas Education Agency, presented by Dr. Edwards and Ms. Goldhorn.
Thank you. We're here tonight to discuss and ask the board to consider approval for application for a full-day pre-K exemption for the years 2019, 2020, 2020, 2021, and 2021, 2022. As we've talked about before, part of the processes for districts to come into compliance with full-day pre-K, the magnitude of this change, increasing staff, classrooms, possibly some remodeling and the additional resources will necessitate a plan over a 2 to 3 year period. Before we were able to submit an application for a waiver, the district was required to solicit partnerships with private entities, which basically are daycares, and also hold a public meeting, which was held last February. So we followed those processes that we're required to follow, and we're here tonight asking for the board to consider application or approve application for the exemption, for that 3-year exemption for the pre-K waiver. Basically, those 3 years would be, again, the 2020-2021 year, we'd be looking at adding 2 campuses. And right now, the proposal is to consider our 2 title campuses. That would be Schertz and Rose Garden for the first year of implementation, and then 3 years, the next 2 years after that. We really don't know what that would be on the 3 schools. We want to monitor attendance and where we are, space availability, and some of those other things, some of the, what all would constitute and what all we'd have to do to be able to open that up. But at the end of this waiver period, we would expect to be serving the students and at these campuses for all of our campuses. And so we're here tonight to share that with the board and ask for your consideration for that application process.
I move that the Board of Trustees approve the application of the full-day pre-kindergarten exemption waiver to the Texas Education Agency for the 2019-2020, 2020 to 2021, and 2021 to 2022 school years.
I second.
We had a motion and a second. Any discussion?
When we're going to get the board approval, provided the right, let's just say you grant the exemption, and then what, over the next 3 years, you're going to do your due diligence and then come back with a plan for the implementation. I guess the first 2, you said the first 2 campuses are Schertz and Rose Garden?
That's what the plan is right now. And yes, sir, Mr. Richard, we actually would plan on opening those this next year for the 2020-2021 school year. And then the following year, we would open, looking at 3 additional campuses. And then last year, the exemption would run out, but we would be opening those last 3 campuses at the end of that exemption. So we would be in compliance with the exemption.
Okay, so sort of an integration question. The positions that she asked for, that Linda Cannon asked for earlier, that
Yes, sir.
address
Yes.
Schertz and
Rose Garden.
Rose Garden?
Yes,
And
sir.
so
That-
then how many more for the next phase-in cycle?
I don't have those exact numbers. I think Linda does, but you can see in the estimated cost, those first year of opening those two campuses is roughly $400,000. That would include staffing, both teacher and instructional aid with that, classroom resources. Right now, those two campuses, one, there are title campuses, but they also have some space availability that we could easily convert and have ready to open for those two campuses. The additional campuses may require a little bit more work in regards to that. And you can see the next 2 years for those three campuses, a little over, right at $1 million to open those three campuses, each of the following 2 years after that, because of the work that would be required with some of those buildings.
And those costs are inclusive of staffing, transportation, food, total, that's a total?
I don't know if we factored in food, but staffing, any type of work to the building, if it requires portables.
Outfitting the classrooms.
I'm sorry?
Outfitting the classrooms.
Outfitting the classrooms, yes, sir. Possibly portables, all of those things would be, I believe, are factored into that cost. We've worked collaboratively with HR, with finance, with building and construction maintenance to ensure that we have as accurate numbers as possible moving forward with the 3-year plan. So yes, sir.
And the same number of, you won't need to alter the nursing level because you have more students now, younger students? I mean, if you have a nurse and you have more students on the campus, you won't need another nurse or another, I mean, they're sick. I mean, sometimes they get sick, right?
Sure.
So will you need more care for those?
That's something we'll continue to monitor with the campuses and the ratio of nurses to students, just as we do with all of our positions through our staffing guidelines.
Thank you.
Anything you'd like to add regarding that, Ms. Cannon?
I don't think with the number of students we'd be adding with pre-K, we would have to add to our nursing. We would look at that as an overall guideline as far as how many kids are on the complete campus, and then look at whether there is another nurse needed for that based on the pre-K 4 level and number of students.
All right, thank you. I was just wondering if they would need any special care or anything like that, that's all. So,
No, I don't believe so.
I don't think so. Thank you.
I've got one question, and it's kind of the $1 million question. I hate to use that term. Funds from the early education allotment will be used to fund this. Is it going to be sufficient to do that, or are they shortchanging us again?
Let me jump in there, Dr. Edwards.
Feel free to take it.
I think I know what the answer is, but I just want to throw it out there.
Thank you, Mr. Finley. I appreciate the opportunity to visit about funding in House Bill 3. It's important to note that we've had a half-day pre-kindergarten program in this district for a number of years, and we are funded half-day. As we roll into a full-day pre-kindergarten program, we're still funded at 1/2 of the amount we would be per ADA or per child. Some additional funds have been added through the early education allotment, which is based on numbers of kids in grades K through 3 who are on free and reduced lunch. So we do have some additional funds, but it is important to note for those on the board and those in the audience that not only is that money that's allocated in the early education allotment supposed to go help fund full-day pre-K, but it's also supposed to fund our reading academies. And so we have been given one pot of money to pay for at least 2 things. And so that is obviously a cost that's passed on to the district and the local communities to ferret that out. We will be back in future months to talk to you about the reading academies and where we are moving forward with that. That's actually being pushed off a little bit because the state has not been able to ramp that up as quickly as possible. But to the state's defense, they have 140,000 K through 3 educators they have to train in reading academies. So it's a big lift. But in answer to your direct question is, we have funds that have to pay for that and for some other things as well.
I guess the question is, go back to the original, does the early education allotment pay for the pre-K program in its entirety? And I guess the answer is no.
The commissioner would say yes.
If he was standing here, I think I'd have a real hard discussion with him about that.
But we do have to recognize that the legislature did increase the basic allotment substantially as well. So there's money that from the increased basic allotment that can be used as well. The changes of House Bill 3 increased the amount of funding for educationally disadvantaged students as well. And so there's some the increased capacity there. We have to, as an administrative team, as a board team, have to look at all of our needs and how we allocate those resources, and taking care of our teachers, dealing with the higher prices of healthcare costs and all those things that we will be working through in the budget over the next 6 months.
And overall, this is just a pinpoint to an overall theme that continues to run through the state and through every school district, is that the state continues to ask us to do things, and they do not fully fund us by any stretch of the imagination. So this is, again, just a small microcosm of the state giving us additional funds and yet expecting us to perform miracles on a regular basis or find money from some source. So I just want to put out there to the public that, yes, they may have given us additional money, but they're expecting us to use that in all kinds of magical ways. So I know Dr. Ely is correct in the fact that we will do the best we can. We're going to make some hard decisions, but that if people really want to understand what education is doing, come down and see what we do with the money and go after your state legislators and everybody else, because I think education in this state is doing a fantastic job with the money they're giving us. And if we can do this with what the money they're giving us now, I can imagine what we can do with just a little bit more and a little bit less interference. So I just want to put that out there. Thank you.
My only comment is, I know that the main reason we need to have that waiver is because of space is one of our major issues at our campuses. And so it is going to take us a phase-in approach. I know there's some parents that would probably love for all of those campuses to have full-day pre-K next year, and it will be here, but we've got to phase that in and budget appropriately, and because there will be reoccurring costs each year once we add those pre-K in. And so we'll start with those two, and then we'll, as soon as we know, because this will be the next question, who's getting it next? As soon as we know, we will definitely release that information, because there will be parents that need to plan accordingly. So, okay, any other discussion? All right, we've had a motion, a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, motion passes 5-0. All right, we are going to head into closed session. The board will now adjourn into closed session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Section 551071, consultation with attorney on a matter in which the duty attorney to the governmental body under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with this chapter. 551074, authorization to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, or to hear a complaint or charge against an officer or employee. And 551129, consultations between governmental body and its attorneys.
Madam President, members of the board, the administration recommends pulling from closed session item B, discussion pertaining to consultation with attorney for district legal counsel regarding legal issues pertaining to non-renewal and termination hearing procedures and policies.
Okay, that is pulled from closed session. Thank you. We're back from closed session at 9:31. Next item on the agenda is employment of contractual personnel by Linda Cannon.
Yes, the positions on the employment list as presented in closed session are replacing positions for the 1920 school year and will be funded from the 1920 general operating budget.
I move that the Board of Trustees approve the employment list as presented of contractual personnel for the 2019-2020 school year.
I second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, motion passes 5-0. The next item on the agenda is consideration of contracts for administrators and professionals by Linda Cannon.
Yes, the administrators and professionals, both contracts, both Chapter 21 and non-Chapter 21, as presented in closed session, will be recommendations for the 2021 school year and will be funded from the 2021 general operating budget.
Madam President, I move the Board of Trustees approve the list as presented of administrators and professionals, Chapter 21 and non-Chapter 21.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, motion passes 5-0. Last thing on the agenda is a review of board monthly planning, our calendar, and any items for review and any agenda items you might possibly want. Mr. Finley.
Thank you. Yes, we have a board meeting on the 24th, Tuesday, as a regular scheduled board meeting. We also have other calendar events. We have the Mexican American School Boards Association Annual Conference, February 20th through February 22nd. The TASB Governance Camp in Galveston, the 26th to the 29th of February. TASB Grassroots for Region 20 on Thursday, February 20th. That's something I've been involved in before, and you can learn a lot by going to Grassroots. So I'm going to try and make that myself. Dr. Gibson's retirement reception will be Wednesday, March 4th, and it might come on by 3:30 to 6:30. Texas Tri-County Chamber Luncheon, Tuesday, March 10th at 11:30. Northeast Partnership Chamber Luncheon on Thursday, March 12th, also at 11:30. And the Chamber and Schertz Luncheon on Tuesday, March 17th at 11:15. And oh, by the way, spring break is coming in March 9th through the 13th, so I'm sure there's going to be a lot of parties that week, right? Unfortunately, I'll be one of those people working during spring break.
Okay, so is anyone else? So I'll just let everybody know. I'm planning on going to the MASBA conference this weekend. I think it's free unless you don't show up. That's my understanding. Is anyone else going to that?
I'm scheduled. I signed up to go,
Okay. All right.
but it's here in San Antonio, so.
Right. Just FYI, it's 50th anniversary for that. And do you have to register ahead of time, or could you still go this late date if you hadn't registered, or do you know?
It's a possibility. I can check into it if there's
I
another
don't
board
know
member
who
that
else
wants
is
to
going.
attend.
I've already signed up. There was, so future possible agenda items. I've had sort of on the surface discussion items. Well, one is the Procurement 101 for board members. And they'll work that one out however, whenever. But the other one was,
But that won't be on a board agenda. That'll just be a special training, right?
that'll be special training, yeah,
Yes,
board
okay.
agenda. What about, how and when does the board ever get to decide who the board attorney is for us?
That's a great question. It just actually recently, very recently, just came up. Next year, we will be our 5th year with this firm. And just about every 5 years, we go back out to see what is out on the market, our general law and special needs law or special education law, for instance. So we're planning on going back out on the street in January. That's about how often we do. We don't have to go out for solicitations for legal services, but there's no shortage of legal firms in our state?
Well, there's the firm and then there's the actual attorney that deals with this. So I was talking about both aspects really of it. You know what I'm saying? So right now it's one person, but I don't remember voting on that one person.
They're very aware of customer service, and if there's any need, if the board, the attorney works for the board, if the board just says that we might want to try someone else with your firm, there's plenty of attorneys on that firm. They're willing to work with each board, whether in Austin or San Antonio.
I'm not going to rock the boat unless other people decide. I just wanted to know how the process works.
Thank you, Robert. Anything else? Okay. Go ahead.
Before, are we about to adjourn?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, we have to say happy birthday to,
Say yes, Miss Priscilla.
Uh-oh.
Yes. And this is how she wanted to spend her birthday night.
Who else?
It's at a
Yeah.
meeting till 9.
whose birthday?
Hey,
It's
Maggie.
Maggie's
also?
Did she bring a
Yes.
cake?
She brought her own cake.
She brought her own cake. Happy birthday to both of you, and thank you for sticking around with
Happy
us.
birthday, Maggie.
Happy birthday.
You probably want to recognize what she stayed the whole meeting.
I know. For her core leadership, we totally appreciate you staying the entire time, Casey, and staying and watching this process.
Just one thing, Mr. President, just totally off the record here, that, so Belinda Puska is our former superintendent. I don't know if you got this, but I guess she just announced today that she's running for the school board in Moulton ISD. Just FYI. It's near Shiner.
Yeah, near Shiner, Moulton. All right, we are adjourned at 9:38.